to Go for Lunch on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon where we're under a severe heat warning. Isn't that fun? So today we're going to talk about the Worldwide Developers Conference keynote that happened just yesterday and see about what is new and coming down the pike. So this is Go for Lunch number 109. I'm Roger Harmon, your host. If you're new here, please type new in the comments so we can get to know you. Go for Lunch is brought to you by GoFor Technology, where we make your technology work for you. So the WWDC 2022 edition introduced a new MacBook Air, an unexpected MacBook Pro 13-inch, as well as iOS 16, iPad OS 16, Mac OS Ventura, and Watch OS 9. As I was putting this together, I determined that I didn't want to be like a fire hose and cover all that in one session, so we're going to break it up. So today we're going to talk about iOS 16 primarily, with a few extras. So one of the things that caught my attention is Tim Cook kicked off the keynote was that there are now 34,000 Apple developers. So that's a lot of people out there making apps for your iPhone, iPad, and Macintosh computer. So we're going to talk about iOS 16. And the first thing that was covered was lock screen enhancements. So, of course, the lock screen is that screen that comes up when your iPhone is locked. And now you can customize it in a lot of different ways. It has support for widgets, which you can see here in this third image, how to add different widgets. It also has your notifications will be at the bottom of the screen in a stack instead of covering the whole screen and obscuring everything. And you'll be able to create different lock screens, and then you just swipe between them to choose which one you like, which one fits your fancy at the moment. You can also change the font style. You can see two different fonts here. And you can use a photo shuffle feature, which will change photos from your library during the day. So another enhancement is live weather. So it will have an animation on the screen. If it's raining, it'll show rain. If it's snowing, you're in the wrong place, and so forth. If you're into astronomy, it has some better animations for astronomy, including showing cloud cover over the Earth. And when you're listening to music, you will see the album art as well as the playback controls on your lock screen. In Messages, they've added some new features, which I think you will like. You can edit a message now after you send it, or you can unsend a message that you have second thoughts about. And you can also mark a message that you've read as unread as a reminder to come back and check it later. So those are really nice features. I was hoping that they would add the feature where you can tell it what time and day to send a message, but I don't think that's come along yet. So dictation, something that is getting better. So now you can switch while you're doing dictation between your voice and typing. So you can just talk a little bit and then you can type a little bit. So that is another nice feature from iOS 16. Now this one is magic. Okay, so this is part of live text, which has been out for a while, but they're enhancing that. So you can translate to other languages by taking a picture of a sign, or in this case, looks like an Italian menu, and it'll translate to English so you can understand what you're reading. So that is really a nice feature. So this one is another magical feature. It allows you to lift images from the background. So it's kind of hard to see here, but here's the full image of the bulldog here. You can see the ears sticking up, and here's the background. And you select the bulldog or whatever image you want, and it'll actually lift that off of the background, and then you can take it and save it or paste it somewhere else. So that's just amazing. That's because of the very powerful engines in the Mac Silicon that runs your iOS devices. So they're really taking advantage of that computational power to do these magical things. So in Apple Pay, you can now do iPhone to iPhone transactions. In other words, you won't need some kind of a terminal to either accept payments or make payments. And this will operate with many of the payment companies that you may be familiar with, such as Stripe, Shopify, Square, and Chase Bank, and a couple others here that you may not be as familiar with. And I'm sure this list will be expanding over time. So also part of Apple Pay is the 4 equal payments feature. So anywhere that Apple Pay is accepted, you can divide your payment into 4 equal amounts without any interest or additional fees. So that certainly will help your budgeting as you pay for things. So here's something that's part of Apple Pay is order tracking. So this is something that other developers have had available, and I'm assuming this is when you pay for your order with Apple Pay, then you'll be able to track it in your wallet. So the other developers are going to have to up their game with their order tracking apps to compete with Apple. This is what we call in trade being Sherlocked. And Sherlock comes from an app that did searching on the Mac, and Apple put that feature in the operating system, so we call that being Sherlocked. So Apple Maps in iOS 16 is enhanced, so there's more countries now that can have the advanced features of Apple Maps. Here's half the list, and here's the other half of that list. So for those of you that are starting to travel, Apple Maps will be more useful in these additional countries. Another feature of Apple Maps is more location detail. So here we are looking at the Santa Monica Pier, and then the different venues, attractions, food choices are also highlighted here. So you get a lot of information like whack-a-mole tacos, appropriate because of course today is Taco Tuesday. Here's the Pacific Wheel. Here's Scoops ice cream. So you can see how handy that will be when you're traveling and trying to find fun things to do. But that's only available in these major cities, and you'll notice that Tucson is missing from the list. So we're going to have to wait for that. But when you're traveling to any of these cities, then you'll have these enhanced map features. Well, here's one of my favorite map features coming to iOS 16 in the fall, and that's multiple stops. So you can plan your errands with multiple destinations, and then maps will show you the most efficient route to accomplish your travel there. So a great addition to Apple Maps. So, of course, Apple is always big on security, and parental controls is part of that. So they have added additional features to control what content your younger family members can access, to set the screen time, and also to make sure that only the appropriate people know your young people's location. So that is a very nice feature. These features have been here in other forms, but they're making it easier to set it up. And when you set up a new device, then this will come up. So if you say you have an iPad that you're giving to a younger member of the family, then you can set all this up at the beginning, and it's just making this easier and comes up right when you're setting up the new device. Here is going to be something that I think will be very popular, and that's iCloud Shared Photo Library. So if you're on a trip with your family members, everybody's taking pictures with their iOS devices, you can now put those into one library. As you collect those pictures, you can go back into your Photos app and just check the ones you want to put into the shared library. Or even better, as you're taking that picture, you can designate it that it goes directly into the shared library, so you don't have to go back and do that. You can do it in real time. So when you get through with your vacation, everybody has everybody else's pictures without any additional hassle. So again, security, and in this case, personal safety. Now, apparently Apple has had some requests for this information, and so they have added a new feature called Safety Check. So what Safety Check does is it stops sharing your location, it resets your privacy permissions, and it protects access to your messages. So if there's somebody in your life that you don't want to have that information anymore, then you have a quick and easy way to shut it down. So this is a quote from the National Center for Victims and Crimes endorsing this Safety Check feature, so that people can be more in control of the information that they used to share. So those are the highlights of iOS 16. We looked at in the upper left-hand corner, the multi-stop routing, the shared photo library, the lock screen customization. This is a feature that we didn't talk about specifically that lets you see your activities on your lock screen. CarPlay is as a new generation, and we'll talk about that on a future program, along with new emoji customizations. We talked about the new features and messages where you can mark it as unread and edit it. The focus has a lot more granularity to it now, so you can really customize that. We spoke of pay later and lifting a subject from the background. Widgets on your home screen, so you can really customize that to get the information you want without unlocking your phone at a glance. And then this is how the notifications are going to roll in at the bottom of the screen so that they don't obscure your whole screen. You can see there's 3 messages here that are stacked. And some other features that we will take up on a future edition of Go for Lunch. So you may be wondering, what iPhone do I need to have in the fall to run iOS 16? And it will require an iPhone 8 or newer. Then if you want to run iPad OS 16, what iPad will you need? Well, these are the ones that will run iOS or iPad OS 16. So you can see here the list. So you've got a few months to decide whether you want to take advantage of these new features and upgrade your iPad so that you can. So no hurry here. Again, these features will be in the release of iPad OS 16, which we expect will be in September. So please, if you haven't already, add your questions and comments, and we will talk about those. Please share the GoFor Gazette that goes out every Monday morning about 7 o'clock with your friends that use Apple devices so we can help more people, and like and subscribe so that we can get to the magic 100. We're pretty close, so if you haven't already, please do that. So, anybody have any questions about the features that we covered on iOS 16? Okay, good point. David has made that there will be a public beta coming out in July. So what that means is you can try these before the fall when they come out. Now, we would encourage you to not put this on your main device. So if you have an old iPhone or an old iPad, that's where you would put the beta and play with it and see how it works, because beta software is still in the testing stage. So you don't want to mess up your everyday device with a beta. Unless, of course, you want to live on the bleeding edge of technology. Susan asked, how do people remember everything that these operating systems do? Well, one good way would be to go to the GoFor Technology YouTube channel and search on the feature that you're wanting to review, and you can watch that particular episode again. So that's one good way. And of course, doing specialized searches on the internet can bring up lots of articles that will let you see the new features. And Susan sent me an email about CNET articles that go through a lot of these features. So there are a lot of resources out there. You just have to ask, and you will be provided with the information that you're seeking. So David agrees with that, apparently. Thanks, David. Okay, well, thank you all for joining. Again, we will look into more of the announcements that came out of WWDC 22 in the, yeah, good point, David. Practice makes it easier. It's like playing the piano. You got to practice every day. So that's a very good tip there. So we will be looking at more features. The new operating system, a little note here, as I posted on the TMUG Facebook page, is that there were several names leaked for the new Mac operating system. One was Mammoth, and the other was Sonoma. And I'm thinking that Apple did that on purpose to track who is leaking information that shouldn't be. So the actual name for Mac OS 13 is Ventura. If it wasn't copyrighted, I'd be playing Ventura Highway in the background right now. So there you have a little inside baseball about naming of operating systems. Great. Well, again, thank you everybody for joining. If you have any questions or thoughts or suggestions for additional Mac Lunch episodes, you can contact me at the email and the phone number that's coming up right now. Have a great rest of your day.